Hi everybody, Rob Ager here, and these are my thoughts on Blade Runner 2049, which I went to watch about 2 weeks ago, and I was going to go back and watch the film again before posting this, but I thought I don't want to waste the ticket price on it again because I was so disappointed in the film. I am aware that a lot of you out there think it's even better than the first movie, but I am going to absolutely rip it to shreds here because I thought it was terrible. Now, I'm just going to start off on this by mentioning that the novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, had a wealth of ideas that were not used in the original Blade Runner film because Ridley Scott didn't even bother reading this. And although Scott made a classic film, which has got some flaws in it, of course, I'm not one of these people who thinks that Blade Runner is just like the absolute, the absolute pinnacle of filmmaking and that nothing else can top it and it's perfect. I'm not of that opinion. There are a lot of flaws in the original Blade Runner film. But with this novel, there were a whole bunch of ideas that could have been used in the new Blade Runner film, but they weren't. And I don't even think that the people who made the new Blade Runner film even bothered to read this, or if they did, they didn't read it properly. There were some fantastic moments in this book that could have been used. There were things like a replicant character who realizes that in order to defeat the replicant test, the Voight-Kampff test, the machine that observes the eyes and the non-verbal reactions to questions about animal cruelty and so on, which isn't really explained much in the first movie. In the novel, there is a replicant character who beats the machine by pretending that English is her second language so that she can justify her delayed empathic responses to the questions. There's also a moment where a replicant persuades the Blade Runner lead character himself that he's the one with the fake memories. That's a real mindfuck moment in the novel. There are even replicants who have infiltrated the police and are posing as Blade Runners, and there's even an entire police station that has been completely taken over by replicants. There's loads of stuff like that in the novel that is absolutely brilliant, and none of it was used in the new movie. So that's the first thing I'll say, is they missed a whole bunch of opportunities. And the plot that we get in the new movie I thought was extremely generic for the most part. Now I will say that the first half of the movie I thought was building up very nicely. There was some good little revelations about the central character. He was on a good journey. And by the way, I actually thought Ryan Gosling was very, very good in the film. And I don't like Gosling as an actor. I've said that before. But this film, I thought he was about the only fucking good thing in it, to be honest. Now, you may think I'm being pretty harsh there, but I'm going to address most of the things that I've heard about this movie. People are saying it's a visual masterpiece. No, I don't think it is. I made a video about a year ago called The Hypnotic Beauty of Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, that is. And in that video I talked in a lot of detail about the various techniques that were used by Ridley Scott, who has pretty much the best eye in the business for creating fantastic visuals. He did a lot of things with moving lights and combined with smoke, and the sets were sort of full and cluttered with all kinds of things that revealed things about the world that the characters were in. The new movie looks sterile. Most of the imagery I thought was really flat looking. I just thought it was visually dull. It was very smooth, but smooth doesn't necessarily make a visual masterpiece. And Roger Deakins, who was the cinematographer on Blade Runner 2049, he is one of my favourite cinematographers. He did most of the Coen Brothers films, and the cinematography that he did for the Coen Brothers movie called The Man Who Wasn't There with Billy Bob Thornton, that is one of my favourite movies for cinematography. I've got a lot of time for Roger Deakins, and I'm not saying he did a terrible job on this movie, but I thought it was visually dull, not necessarily because of the cinematographer, but because the director and the lighting people just ended up putting together this really flat looking thing. So I didn't think it was that good on that level. There were some really, really good genius well, genius, but really fantastic visual moments, like when the hologram character mixes herself with a real girl. That was very impressive. But then that's CGI stuff, right? Yeah, actually, I would say the subplot with the hologram girl was about the thing that I found most interesting and most enjoyable about the movie. That was something that I hadn't quite seen before. But a lot of the other sexual stuff that was done with the hookers in the streets and the giant prostitute-like images, a lot of that stuff was already done before. And I'm just going to grab a book to show you that that's been done before and better. Okay, sorry about that. This is the concept artwork for the Stanley Kubrick Steven Spielberg collaboration movie, AI, Artificial Intelligence, which, by the way, is way smarter than Blade Runner 2049 in itself. But if you look in this book, it's got all of the imagery related to, well, some of the stuff you won't be able to see the detail, but there's things like this. You see that? Yeah. There are all kinds of sketches like this which involve the Rouge City of the AI film having buildings that are shaped like the bodies of prostitutes. And it's not quite as evident in the finished film itself because of all the neon lights and stuff. But if you go and watch it carefully, you will see extremely sexual imagery in the Rouge City, even after Spielberg had directed it. And when you look at that book, you find that pretty much all of that imagery that was done in Blade Runner 2049, it's been done before and better. So that didn't impress me. The music in the new Blade Runner was, it was lame. You know, it had really loud bits, and then it was like the rest of it. The melodies weren't memorable. You know, the music did not stand out to me at all in anything like the way the Vangelis' score for the original movie did. I mean, even people who don't like the original Blade Runner tend to like the score. So the new score was lame. Like I say, the first half of the new Blade Runner, although it was extremely slow, painfully slow, I mean, far slower than the original movie, which was about 2 hours, and the new movie is 3 hours, but it doesn't have 3 hours worth of story. Despite the slowness of it, I was getting quite interested in the first half, the character's journey. I was starting to feel for Gosling's character, especially when he has certain revelations sort of halfway through the movie, and I was like, wow, okay, Gosling has actually got me emotionally here. I didn't expect that, and that was great. And I was beginning to think to myself, right, they're on a roll here, let's hope this turns out really good. And then the plot fell to pieces. It fell to pieces just before the Harrison Ford character came into it, and Ford was wasted in the film. There wasn't really any need for him to be in there. The plot really just collapsed in the second half of the movie, to the point where for the last hour of the film, I couldn't wait for it to end. I wanted to get out. I thought it was absolute. I thought the plot had fallen to pieces so much that it wasn't even worth me watching the rest of the movie. I did watch the rest of it because I went to see it with a friend, and he wanted to see it right to the end anyway. But even he said the film was absolutely terrible. And a lot of friends I've spoken to have said they cannot believe that this movie has had these rave reviews. I have had one or two friends who've also said that they thought it was brilliant. One of them actually said to me last night that he thought it was better than the first movie, and of course, blah, 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 blah about that. I mean, sorry, this is a bit of a ramble, this video. I haven't really planned what I was going to say here. I'm just shooting off some thoughts. Let's see, themes in the new Blade Runner film. In terms of themes, aside from the hologram character and the relationship between her and Gosling's character, I didn't see anything new thematically that I hadn't seen many times before. Some of the themes were just rehashing themes from the first movie and not doing them as well. The empathy with replicants, that was done thoroughly in the first movie. There was no need to do that again. I mean, sure, you can have a little bit of it just to balance things out. But maybe going for something like along with what was in the original novel. See, in the novel, the replicants, we aren't made to empathise with them. The Blade Runners do struggle with empathising with replicants and wanting to sleep with them and stuff like that. But the basic idea in the novel is that no matter how well manufactured a artificial being is, they don't have a soul and they don't have empathy, and that's why they have the empathy test, which was sort of pushed into the original Blade Runner movie as a sort of sideline issue. But in this novel, the replicants are unable to truly empathise with other living beings, not even with each other. And that was an important issue. There was quite powerful stuff to that effect. There's a moment in the novel where the animals have all been dying out on Earth, and there are many species that nobody has ever seen before. And one of them is spiders. Nobody's seen a spider. Everybody thinks they're extinct. And some replicants, along with a human character, they find a spider, and they don't know whether it's a artificial spider or a live spider. But the human character wants to keep that spider alive on the off chance that it's a proper live spider and it's a very valued species. And what the replicants do is they start pulling the legs off the spider one by one, and they leave it with just 4 legs, and then they hold a lighter to it to see if the spider can run away from the flame with just 4 legs. And it's a brilliant moment in the novel because it establishes just how dangerous and unempathic the replicants are, and what they are potentially capable of doing to a human being, given the right circumstances. It's so many good ideas in that novel. I mean, there's things like the differences between how different replicants respond when they find out that they've got false memories. Like some of them will just go on a rampage and want to kill everyone. They find out the whole life is just a made-up dream and that, oh, I'm an artificial being. Then they just go out and slaughter people. And other ones just become apathetic and let themselves be killed by Blade Runners. It's a very, very intelligent novel. Tons of stuff on there could have been used in the new Blade Runner movie, and it wasn't. I think I can honestly say I could have wrote a better script for Blade Runner 2049 in a week. I'm not joking. I had so many ideas of what could have gone into this movie. I'm going to say that with absolute confidence. I could have wrote within 1 week a far better script. This was lame. I'm not sure who wrote it. I haven't looked into who wrote it, but the script was pretty dull. There was a few good ideas that were not fleshed out very well at all. Something else I will say actually is that there's been some abuse thrown at the film for its treatment of females, and they're mainly about the hologram character being this sort of stereotypical, desirable, submissive girl. Yeah, that's the whole idea. So she's an artificial being who's created to serve, so therefore that's what she is like, and she is serving a being who is in turn a servant of the human race. That was the whole point of that, but I've been reading these articles saying that Blade Runner 2049 failed at the box office because it didn't appeal to women because it didn't have strong female characters. No, it probably didn't appeal to women because it was slow as fuck and it was boring and the script didn't really go anywhere in the end. But there were strong female characters in it. Gosling, who was the lead character, who's a Blade Runner, and that's not a spoiler because that's revealed right at the beginning of the movie anyway. His boss is a female, and she is a hard bitch. And there's a hard bitch replicant who goes around in the movie karate kicking and killing everybody. She was quite sexy, actually. And also, again, this is a spoiler, but I don't care about giving spoilers anyway because the film's crap anyway, so I'm going to give the spoiler. Gosling thinks that he's this special, or I should say the Gosling character thinks that he's this special replicant who was the first natural-born replicant. That's what he thinks he is. And it turns out he isn't. It turns out that the special replicant is actually a woman. So where people are getting these ideas, the film has a lack of strong female representation among the cast, they must be fucking idiots to say that. If anything, the male characters in the film were the weak ones. Yeah, so what else can I say about Blade Runner 2049? I'm sure there's other things I'll think of later, but I just wanted to uh, get this little rant out the way. I'm sure a lot of you are going to get in the comments section and go on about how it's a masterpiece and you didn't appreciate it. No, that's bullshit. There's a lot of very slow and artistic films that I really like. I love a lot of Alfred Hitchcock and Kubrick and David Lynch. I mean, I love a lot of David Lynch stuff. Really slow stuff like Lost Highway. I absolutely love that film. Uh, there are plenty of 3 hour epics that I absolutely love. Um, those of you who've been watching my film analysis stuff for years know that I am willing to dig beneath the surface when a film is not commercial in a standard entertainment way. I'm willing to do that. You've seen that with all the videos I've posted over the years. But with Blade Runner 2049, I saw a shallow cash-in movie that was pretending to be more artistic and intellectual than it actually was. And I think the positive reviews probably come in the light of the fact that there's so little else out there that's any good anyway, that the reviews feel like they have to give something a positive review. Because when do we ever get a year where all of the reviewers basically say, look, what's going on? All the movies are crap this year. And that has happened plenty of times since the turn of the millennium. Um, but the movie critics, it's almost like they feel that it's their job to hail some movies as being great in comparison to others, even if the vast majority of movies in a given year are crap. Um, I posted a video I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, called Why Post-Millennial Movies Are So Awful. That was an hour-long rant. Well, it was sort of a rant, but it was a planned rant. I've worked out everything I was going to say before I said it. And that video has got about 170,000 views at the moment. I was quite surprised that so many people were willing to sit and watch that video when it was just me ranting for an hour. But obviously, the subject matter of modern movies being terrible was something that really clicks with a lot of people. And I had a lot of emails and stuff from people saying, thanks for nailing all of these issues of why modern movies are so bad. And, of course, some people argued like fuck against that video. But I would say a lot of the points that I made in that particular video about why modern movies are so awful, a lot of those points do apply to Blade Runner 2049, which is kind of ironic, considering the arguments over the subject. Yeah, so I think that's about it, really. That's my rant on Blade Runner 2049. I'm sure some of you are going to hate me for saying this stuff, but tough. I am not going to lie. I was really, really fucking disappointed in Blade Runner 2049. And I've actually lost a lot of my respect for the director of the film. I've forgotten his name. We did that movie Prisoners, which was pretty damn good. And there was enough story in that film to actually justify the 3 hours. He did Sicario, which I enjoyed. I thought it was quite under-directed, and it was way too long. He needed to chop at least 20 minutes worth of footage out of that film that wasn't needed. And we get the same problem with this new Blade Runner film. There are moments where the camera is just lingering on nothing or just slowly moving down a corridor, and it lasts for like 8 or 10 seconds. You're like, what the fuck am I sitting here looking at this for? Just cut and get on with the next point in the story. It's okay to have the camera linger and do things slowly if you've got subtleties going on when the slowness is happening. But if you haven't got anything interesting going on during that slowness, then just cut and get on with the movie. So Blade Runner 2049 could have easily had half an hour chopped away from it. Oh, yeah, one other thing I just wanted to say was the theme of the replicants fighting back was so utterly predictable. Oh, they're having a revolution, blah, 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 blah. That was so unoriginal, and it's been seen many, many times before in movies, and it wasn't even done interestingly. God, you know what? End of rant. Okay, that's my take on Blade Runner 2049. Bye for now, folks. Oh, by the way, before you go, I've just posted on my website a couple of weeks ago a fairly big article called Killer Vacations, and it's all about the aspect of a lot of action fantasy movies where characters go on a sightseeing holiday in which they kill people. It's in the James Bond movies, it's in Indiana Jones, It's in all kinds of movies and video games. It's in the Far Cry games, the Skyrim game, the Elder Scrolls. It's across the board. I've started looking into it. I was like, my God, this is one hell of a pattern. So I've wrote a huge article on that subject. That one's only available on my site for digital download, so go and check it out at collativelearning.com. Once again, this is Rob Ager, signing off. Bye for now, folks.